Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is Wrench Every Day. And I'm sitting here in our drag racing project, our Lexus SC300, getting ready to face off against the guys at PFI Speed and the Freedom Civic. The race is, well, it's really close. I don't want to say how many days it is. I've been a little ambitious with the scope of the project. Went way overboard, and it's catching up to me. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what this car is and what the Freedom Civic is, both of these cars were used during the Tavares B is for Build Christmas Shootout several years ago, sponsored by eBay Motors, where Tavares had the Civic, and this was Chris's car from B is for Build, and the goal was to go 10 seconds for $10,000 or less. Neither of them did it. The Honda was substantially quicker than this car, which it shouldn't have been. It had all the right pieces for success. A really nice 4-link rear suspension, a big small block Chevy in the front with a good drag racing transmission, and it went 16s. It was terrible. So we threw all of that away and replaced it with a fully built LS engine, a 6-liter LS with a big massive turbo sitting there, a TH400 drag racing transmission, and fully upgraded that rear end to handle all of that abuse. And to go 10 seconds in the quarter mile, we've put a 8.5 certified drag racing cage and a parachute on it in the last episode, because that's absolutely needed to go 10 seconds.
Great.
It isn't. And the guys over at PFI Speed, they have swapped the engine and put a K-Series Honda engine in it, have made it all-wheel drive, and it's going to be a handful to outrun it to 10 seconds. Remember, guys, 10 seconds, that's the goal. Neither of us understood the assignment. Now, none of this absolute insanity that we are doing with these two cars would be possible without the support of eBay Motors. They jumped on board the first time. We told them our idea of getting these cars and giving them a second chance, and they loved it and jumped behind us 100%. After all, they wanted to see the cars go 10 seconds. I think they're going to. With eBay Motors, you are going to be able to find your next project car or all the parts to fix your current car. There's millions of new parts listings, used parts listings, and it's also a fantastic place for you to go ahead and sell your parts. Their app makes it incredibly easy to create the listing, take pictures, and get it all posted for the world to see. And with their vehicle purchase protection and eBay money-back guarantees, you're protected to make sure you're getting exactly what you buy. Again, an absolutely huge thank you to eBay Motors for supporting this series and giving us a chance to give these cars the trip down the drag strip they deserve. All right, so you may be asking yourself, Jared, why are you sitting in the car? Shouldn't you be working on it? Yes, because this is the episode. This is the episode that we're going to start the car, and it's a lot of work. So I'm going to recommend you pause the video and make some popcorn, because this is going to be an adventure, because fuel system needs plumbed. The entire electrical system needs to get done. The seat needs to get mounted. Fuel cell, surge tank, intercooler tank, new shifter, cooling system, throttle cables, the new bodywork. We need to build the shock mounts. We need to cut and fit the interior. There's a lot to do, but we're gonna get it done because that's what we do, right? So get your popcorn, hold on to the seat, your seat, hold on to something, and cue time lapse, and we'll pick you up a little bit later and get you caught up on the progress, because it's a lot to do.
right, let's get you caught up on that whole day one of getting the Lexus to run in this episode. Really, the first half of the day was unpacking everything off the shelves and finding out what we were missing and getting it all ordered. So we have a ton of packages coming in, and that's round one. There's probably going to be 7 more rounds of that, unfortunately. Our bank account's hurting a little bit, but we'll get there. We're still fighting strange axles. We've gone through every possible backing plate retaining setup, and we've got what they say we need, and it's not seeming to work. So tomorrow I might be calling another axle company so I can put it on the ground. But we still needed to have a hole back here to fit the shocks whenever we do get that. So David cut that, and then we ran out of parts. So David you started cutting everything.
Yeah.
So because race car, this was a very nice mint trunk lid. Still had the original VIN sticker on it, and we cut what? I mean, legitimately, how much weight do you think came out?
Between the trunk and taking the actual supports and all that junk out, probably like 15, 20 pounds. I mean,
which is significant if we can save a pound here, a pound there,
it adds up.
There'll be a legitimate weight saving. So he was cutting and working on that. We were kind of scheming back here, but up front here, there you go. You can start seeing the downpipe take shape. I needed to order a few more parts to be able to get it aimed where I want, because now we know where the exhaust is going. It's going to go out the side, down a little bit, and both of our wastegates, I'm going to do the same thing. They're going to come out on each side and shoot fire out the side so we can kind of have a clean hood look. Oh yeah, there's a hole. You know, we cut the front inner fenders and our race application. They're not really needed, so they're gone. We're compromising structure a little bit, but again, race car, weight matters. And those were like ounces. They don't weigh much, so...
It was more for the clearance of the thing, for the catch can, for the downpipe.
The catch can, downpipe, just everything we want to fit. We've got our catch can going together. Going to build a slightly different bracket. We have an idea how we want to run those lines. I stared at aluminum a lot trying to connect that dot. It's tricky, so we ordered a bunch of pie cuts. We could have made pie cuts, but it was, again, a cost-benefit analysis. Enough to do 290s was what, $80?
Yeah, with shipping.
So a straight piece of 4-inch pipe is about $40. So I've got pre-cuts coming. You know what? I'm sorry. You can watch Finnegan. He'll show you how to do it. But we did something really exciting. And hit it. Ha! We have a throttle body. It's wanting to focus on your face, not the throttle body. But either way, I connected the throttle cable, so it does the thing. So now it's wait for a lot of parts to show up. Oh goodness, that's not. I'm getting excited because that thing, it's looking proper race car. So get ready for a kitschy YouTube transition. Ready? Hey, David.
What's up?
Is it morning or is it night?
I don't know anymore.
It's night. We just started working. There's been a tremendous amount of work, but I realized something. Your great value, David Freiberger. Your
I guess,
wholesale club, David Freiberger, with your sandals and your David. So
I've been called worse.
we have been incredibly busy. We cut all the structure out of the hood and pulled that off. You did a lot of the cutting. I did some of the heating and popping. There's been tons of scraping in the interior and cleanup in the interior. We'll get there, but I kind of want to show them what I've been working on. It's kind of ridiculous.
It came out pretty sweet.
So there's our exhaust, and I know a lot of you said go up with the fireballs, but I decided, left and right fireballs, that was the right call.
Yeah.
It's really kind of cool. So all the pipe work on the exhaust side is fully welded. I still need to do a support for the turbo. We're waiting for pipe cut so I can do the intercooler pipe. Started a little bit running the breather setup. I welded in a new bracket for that, but then inside David has been wire wheeling everything. We've stripped some of the extra wire, got the insulation off the wall, firewall, the shifter out, all of this for preparation for paint.
Yeah, because Jared just has to have a show car.
You've been pushing wanting to paint it. So, and you'd say, why are we painting it when it doesn't run? Well, we're waiting for a lot of parts and it needs to happen.
Yeah, basically you can't leave the cage bare because obviously it'll end up like this dash bar here, and then you get in and out of the car, you're getting rust on your hands. Like, that's no fun.
Yeah, so we got to get that done. We cut the hood structure. We saved a fair bit of weight, but the thing is still astronomical.
The biggest weight savings of all the cutting we've done was in the doors, actually, which do not do unless you have a roll cage like we've got going on here.
Yeah, but the side impact door bars are gone from both of the doors, and a little bit more structure cut out of them. We have diagonal bar and a floor bar. So we have a side impact. Street cars don't do that. But yeah, it's a lot more cleaning, a lot more grinding. I was on the phone with the manufacturer of my axles, and they told me everything is right and my backing plates are wrong. That there must be two different types of backing plates. And I checked the parts diagrams. There's one part number for all of those Explorer brakes. So we're going to have to come up with our own solution, because I was basically told, we sent you the right stuff. Good luck. At any rate, we got some parts in. We got more fuel cell stuff and things over there, but we're going to win eventually.
Eventually. Definitely against PFI.
Yeah. Sorry, Brent, but this is the view you're getting. This is it right here. We are into the next day of constant working, and well, we're well into the afternoon. David was good enough to run all the way down to Summit, which is a 4-ish hour round trip in the best case of scenarios. Picked up some more parts, and we finally have an axle solution. Also late last night, Randy over at GRC swung by. We did some talking, measuring. We came up with a potential solution to try to make strange parts work, and also work on the shock mounting solution. So let's first cover the axles. So if we look here, we're we have axles on both sides, and they turn, and it's a little snug, but the snugness is something we can honestly attribute to brand new bearing without lube, new bearings without lube, new bearings without lube. When I put it together the way we were told, it was 140 foot-pounds to break loose one axle. How does that number sound?
That's, yeah, not even close to spec.
What we found worked is the Explorer parking brake backing plate, which if you're keeping, wouldn't be a problem. That's going to be there. You run that plus this Willwood shim. Now, they are sold individually, so you need 2 of these, but that combination, not using the spacer provided by Strange, it works.
Yep.
Finally. And then I invited Randy to come over here because he's a lot smarter than me, like incredibly smarter than me, and pointed to my shock problem and my idea of putting him inboard and had David remove the floor so we could do a mount. And, well, he was like, why would you do that when there's, you know, the factory shock and it fits and we're not going to have a tire that goes there. Yeah. So, Randy drew some really cool parts up. I have them kind of assembled there. He drew that top plate. He drew a stepped adapter plate. Now it's a builder kit. And then he built the shock mounts. So, David, do you mind? Yeah. You can kind of see the scratch lines in the paint. Nope, 180. Nope. What? That away. So it's stepped up here.
Yep.
So those will live
just like that
up there, and this will get adjusted a little bit there. And what's nice is we're basically the full length down. The goal is, again, when it's at rest, because these are right around 6.5 inches, we want roughly 2 inches of shaft available for compression, all the room for it to grow, and that's where on paper it will allow it, but if not, we've got 3 inches to be able to drop it down. So Randy drew all of that up and cut it out on his plasma table for us. But that has revealed a new problem in this amazing 4-link fabrication by the original fabricators. Do you know which one I'm about to reference?
No.
So this cross member here, if we come up to our transmission, ow, there's an oil pan there. That really hurt my head. Notice how you can't even see the transmission there? So let's iterate again. When I am talking about the builders of the car, if I'm referencing the Sniper EFI and the Nitrous, that is what Chris and I did at Tavares' shop. So quit commenting, oh, no wonder B is for hack. Chris didn't have a chance to build this 4-link. He bought it pre-built because they had basically 4 days to build the cars, and that couldn't be done. Whoever the customer, this was built by a professional shop. A customer gave someone a tremendous amount of money to build this car and basically was robbed. Like, this is... I have a background where I ran a professional speed shop for well over a decade. What is happening under that car is robbery. That guy had no business taking money from these customers, and it's no wonder the guy sold it, because it's absolutely terrible. So we just keep finding new problems that we're fixing and improving. So that's where we are at with it. We're just going to keep going. I think at this point we're going to lower it down so you can climb in the real comfortable thing and do more grinding and sanding, because the goal is by tonight finally have this thing rolling. Yep. So we can paint it in the morning and continue on.
Yep.
Well, it's dark out, and we had to hit a slight pause because the electrician showed up to run and drop power to the lifts, and I've been waiting, so we stopped working so we could do that. After a while, we threw David back in to do more prep for paint, and we did some test panels. But if you notice, we're not on a lift. Randy cut up those brackets, and I totally forgot to show you all of them out of the car, so here's a picture he sent me. And that's not the right stance, is it?
No, it turns out that my car had a lot more weight over the rear with the rear subframe and all that stuff. Since this car is a 4-link and all that, there's significantly less weight over top.
300-pound springs give us like all of 1 inch of shock compression. Like the actual height and mounting position of the shock's pretty spot on, and we're running into too much spring. So the little petite 150s, that number may be close to right. The length, everything else about that shock is totally wrong, but we might need 150-pound spring. So we're going to try that first because, again, we want the rear to settle 4.5 inches, which is going to put that tire in a perfect spot, right? Yeah.
Right. In a perfect world, we would corner scale the car and actually get exactly what the rear weighs and then do the math and whatnot. In the real world, we're going to put 150-pound springs on it, and it's going to be good or it's not.
Right.
It's very binary. I'm 200 pounds, and it doesn't do anything.
It moves a little, but not much. The front, encouragingly enough, is decent. We'll be able to drop it some with the new suspension coming for it, but I don't know. Maybe we just keep the big old, instead of matching the bumper, I kind of like the just super side exit there, but it's coming together. There's a lot more boxes at the house already, and we have even more coming in. They're at the house because FedEx does not know how to deliver to my shop, and I need the parts not lost, so they go to the house.
Yep.
So, but, man, Freedom Civic, you're in trouble. It is into another day. I got in bright and early. David made yet another summit run. He went down and got those springs for us. Unfortunately, they only had 12 inch instead of 14 inch. We'll show you all of that in just 1 second. But what have I done so far? Made a bracket and welded it up to hold the downpipe in place so it is ready for heat wrap. We just did kind of a little more, I don't know. This is just one big blur, guys. It's thrashing to get a car done and then another car there, but welded up the parachute bracket so we can take those hose clamps off, and it's ready for paint. Some more little fiddly stuff, and then I went ahead and got the rear shock brackets welded in, and she came out looking pretty decent. I'm pleased with that. Those are some ugly welds over the top of my spots, but look, see, I can weld, guys. We can get something decent. Now, I'm not able to go the entire length inside and out just because of angles. If it ever comes out, I can kind of spot in a couple spots, but we are in no danger for strength. That bad boy is holding in just great. And then I went and welded this side, and we used an angle finder to get, that angle right. And then I went off of someone's eyeball when we were spotting it, and I totally failed to even double check. So we're a little crooked. But that's not going to be a catastrophic problem, and there's 2 reasons for it. Well, there's really just one. The shocks have spherical ends on it, so it'll compensate for for that, the reason I can't just grab this and kind of like bend them straight is these holes have to be in perfect alignment to allow the adjustment up and down. So, whoops. The other thing we got going on are our upper mounts. Randy did an awesome job when he drew all these out. He's got some, rotational adjustment so that way I can dial it in perfect. It sits at an angle, so he cut 2 different legs so we can have it nice and square. So right now this bad boy is going, see, look guys, I can weld. But we're letting that cool off so I can then take these out, my stack of washers, and hold up this one, and we'll get that one fully welded, and then things will be able to go in with our new shocks. So we've got some AFCO polished 2.5-inch diameter. These are only 12 inches long. We couldn't get 14-inch springs. They weren't in stock, but that length is not going to be a problem when it comes to making spring rates work. This is going to let us get the car down. It should squat and get everything where we need it to be. Because again, our goal is we want this shaft almost fully collapsed with just about 2 inches or so exposed. So it gives all of the room for the shock to separate, to extend out and push away. Racing springs are awesome in the sense that you don't have any crazy top hats or anything to do. You just lower your preload off, and then these collars have a little opening in it, so you're able to then just drop it, walk it out, lift your spring off, put your new one on, lock that collar back in, and you are good to go. So we are at half our spring rate from before. Right now, we're just trying to make the car sit so we can figure out bar angles and all of that later. So there's so much more to do. We'll make it.
Yep.
We need to not do PFI and drop a valve on our first test, though.
Yeah.
All right, we're on the ground, and as David does, he awkwardly walks as we're trying to talk.
You never tell me when you're starting these things.
The good thing is we have all that amazing GoPro footage of you working in the door bars of your back.
Yeah, that's great.
He doesn't do camera stuff. Anyway,
Nope.
We've got 150-pound springs, and it's marginally better, but not quite there.
No, and bearing in mind that there will still be about 200 pounds of junk in the trunk.
We're still not there. So,
Yeah.
Hey, David, you mind going to Summit?
Yeah, this is fifth time.
We're going to keep racking them up. But where we're at is I'm breaking down, and I sent David a big chunk of money, not the chunk of money for all the other parts, but you're coming back with 100-pound springs that are 14 inches long, so those 2 inches matter.
Yes.
But we're going down to 100-pound from 150-pound, and you're also bringing back a really exciting toy.
Yeah, a set of scales.
Yeah, so I've got, they have some Proform wireless scales. We need it to be able to do things proper. So we're making one more just guess of 100-pound springs and getting the scales. So we actually even know what it weighs, because that would be kind of a cool thing as we're going. So we'll find out weight tomorrow with the springs on it, and then we'll kind of see how much weight we add into it. Because maybe we're a featherweight.
Maybe. And then we get to bench race, which is always fun.
Exactly. So we're better, we're closer, we're lower. What we're going to do right now is I've got administrative YouTube things to do. But before I do that, we're going to get brackets so we can actually mount the sunroof, which will set David up to continue painting. Then I got to do boring things, and he'll run back up. Look at that. We're going white and gray. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how all of that comes together. But we've got some wiring stuff and a couple things. So my day 4 ends a little bit before your day 4 ends, because you're going to shoot back up this way and tinker a little bit, and you'll have some GoPro time lapse, and we'll just do all of that update in the morning, because maybe we'll have a painted interior and some wiring.
Maybe.
All right, we are well into the afternoon. I got in bright and early. Dave was stuck in traffic getting our new springs, spring set number 3. I got our sunroof mounts put together. I got that done. I went through a ton of pie cuts, but it came out pretty well, right?
Yeah.
So the welds aren't the most beautiful, but we've got that. We'll show that a little bit later because David has got the springs in, so we're ready to see if we're close there. But before we do that, I just kind of want a current weight because I finally broke down. Man, I love the lighting. You're just a shadow.
I figured.
Oh, that's even worse. We've got some nice scales so we can measure and find out how much the car just weighs. I'm curious. Do you have a guess?
As it sits without all the ancillary nonsense and without you, 3,100.
30. I was thinking like 3,450.
No, because you got to think of all the floor that's been cut out. There's a lot of double metal that's been removed. Like, these cars have like double metal everywhere because they're luxury cars. But
Yeah.
we took the door beams out. We took a lot of the hood's not on it. The trunk's not on it.
Well, and that there is 1,400 pounds just in the hood and trunk, pretty much.
Absolutely.
But if you ever get the wireless scales like we picked up here, they're not that much more. So left front, you can grab right front. We'll get it all in position, set the scales, show you what the weight is, pick it back up, and then we have 17% success chance of the ride height being right, right? But we at least have tools to then weight the trunk and figure out what we actually have to order.
Hopefully this time it's too low.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep. All right, there we go. No. Right, there it is. Now it's reading. Okay. Holy crap.
What we got?
Your guess is probably accurate with me and the fuel in it.
Wow.
2583.
That really makes me wonder how my car got so heavy. Oh, you know what? We're missing the windshields, and those are heavy too.
There, still,
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, it doesn't make up for that 400 pounds.
like, holy well, you can tell I got a lot of weight on the, well, and the downpipe has to go on, but
The plumbing. I mean, there's stuff, but...
there's a lot of weight, but,
Wow. It I mean, that bodes
Look.
real well.
like,
Wow.
yeah, so we'll,
Phew.
I'm just going to send Brent that picture and really freak him out. And be like, hey, Brent, just so you know, that's my race weight. It's not my race weight, but we're going to tell him it's my race weight.
Do we know what he weighs?
2,200.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's Honda.
No, we're not far off of that.
Right.
Wow.
We are by the time we're... Anyway, so there's still a tremendous amount of work to do. I will say this. Just it set down with no bouncing, we're already way better off in the rear. So I think we might be golden there. But, wow. But that was a good investment. That makes me feel really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, David, we won. Finally. It's
yeah.
better. It's a lot better. Ideally, there's a lot more that we could do, but it's fine. We've got good ride height. It squats where we want it to. The front is sitting okay, but we'll get better with the suspension. And, oh yeah, I can show my listen.
Super sweet charge plate.
Listen, it's not my best welding work, but it connects the dot, so it's ready for a blow-off valve. But what's going to happen... Oh, we also came up... David had the idea. We've got our remote coil brackets, and let's put them where we can't service them.
Well,
it's literally just 2 pieces of plastic that pop off, and it just kind of looks really cool. We'll bring the wires out and you really won't see them. So that's kind of a cool idea, but I'm unfortunately turning into a pumpkin and have boring, like the business side of YouTube once again to go do. So I got David a key, and I did not get him a pillow or a blanket, but there's a futon. Yep. So hopefully you'll have the wiring done in the morning. Just try to time lapse some of it.
Yeah.
See. Well, another day is ending, and this update, there's actually a lot to get you updated with, because yesterday was a little bit of fun, but the previous day we didn't do a ton of updating, and we've literally just worked all day.
Yep.
Also, maybe I'll insert a picture or video from people. We went and played in Roadblock yesterday. It does the thing pretty well, doesn't it?
Yeah, for being real light in the rear. It was a good time.
We went and joined everyone up at the Dragon and, did a couple runs, and that was good. But back to business. We have our fuel cells ready. This has been modified to sit flat on the floor. I just need to put feet on it. We've got plumbing all kind of starting to mock out. I need one more fitting. These all connect. So these are our feed and overfill from this main tank, which will connect into here, which connects into that fuel pump module. That one's capped off. That's the rollover and vent valve for both of the tanks together. And when it's time to go fast, we just turn this pump off. And if I really wanted to, I could just put 2 caps there, but not necessarily needed.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter. It'll be nice too, because like in the years that I've been running Drag Week, I've always had to drain my main tank and fill it, make sure that E85 content's where I need to be.
Whereas this is just turn the transfer tank off and
fill this up with, your E55 or better and rock and roll.
Yep, have some fun. Water tank, well, that's probably going to end up living on the interior. We're fighting with that. Speaking of interior, I don't know that I've addressed it yet. The David has been painting away. We're doing with the white cage with a gray floor, and it's looking phenomenal. It's covered up because he was touching a little more things up. He's now deep into wiring, and we've got a really high dollar Dominator mount. Really high dollar.
Custom.
Coils. The remote coils arrived, the brackets for them, and came up with a really, really good idea. David's like, hey, let's put them there just to kind of keep the engine bay clean. So there's going to be something that covers them, and we just have the wires out. So David got them run. I finished them up and got the ends on it. Radiators kind of mocked in place. We have found a home for our fuel pressure regulator. Fittings are kind of starting to work into there. But the big thing with wiring is to do it the way I would like to do it and kind of the way you would want to do it. All of the non-terminated from the Holly would be about 4 days, and you kind of threw an audible at me, which I approved.
Yeah, so firstly, thanks to Matt over at Sloppy Mechanics, because he had this on the shelf. And so HCR Innovations is offering this plug and play sort of like extended length everything. It's peeled back like real far. You can kind of see it there.
See some of it in
Like-
here, but it's a really nice. They're using what looks like the same Tech Flex that I'm getting from WireCare and putting together, all loomed, labeled.
It comes with heat shrink labels on everything, the big boy map sensor connector.
There's nothing more permanent than temporary wiring that works in a car. So when David was kind of throwing a let's do something quick, this is the right way to do it quick. And it's just normally there's lead times, but again, Matt, the sloppy mechanic, was awesome, had it on the shelf. You have one on order for your car that is now folded into 2 pieces. So it was an easy kind of swap, be like, hey.
And he actually is supplying us with the plug-and-play setup for our flex fuel sensor, as well as the dome pressure sensor and our boost control solenoids, which we need to still find a home for. But he does a super cool sort of plug-and-play setup for if you have a Terminator X, HP, or Dominator. It plugs into the factory power, your alternator, and then lets you plug all that stuff in without having to run wire leads and all this nonsense that like is generally a pain if you don't have your crimping tools and all the other junk that a professional shop would have for you at home.
Another thing David's working on is the switch panel. We're going to simplify wiring a tremendous amount with that switch panel. Tons has been done. We're making good progress, and David made a list, but most importantly, sorry, Brent. Let's try to do a better job of keeping you updated as progress is happening, and it's been a busy morning and night. David worked a good bit actually in the wiring up front. I believe we covered our coil wiring and all of that last night, but he redid the entire front body harness and stripped out, well, just a lot of wire that we no longer need as a mixture of running the race control panel and just didn't need. The Dominator is going to handle a lot of it. The relay panel is going to handle the rest of it. Radiator's kind of starting to find a home. The fuel pressure regulator is mounted. We've got a vacuum sensor block, that bar there. That's going to get mounted in. Interior is almost done getting painted. A lot of progress. In the interest of safety, I decided to replace the trunk floor. We added probably 30 pounds back there, but that little rolled up crunch tin is what the floor was and was going to require a lot more bracing to safely mount fuel cells to. We could have just bolted it to the floor, but I don't want to be in an accident and have 200 pounds of fuel breaking loose and flying at the back of my head.
No.
Granted, there's a firewall. There's a lot between us, but it seems like you want it to stay in place. So put a much stronger steel floor at the cost of some weight. That's going to let us bolt our cells and everything exactly where we want it. And while I was welding those feet onto the cells, anyone who's been welding aluminum or is under a tight time frame, you know the sound, where it just suddenly starts sounding like burning bacon and a fire in your frying pan, which, let me know real quick, stopped the weld and confirmed, ran out of argon. So thankfully, hopefully, we're gonna have a welder supply open that I'll be able to run and exchange that tank at real quick, because once that fuel cell's done, we still have the radiator, blow-off valve, and we're almost done with aluminum welding. I still got a lot of steel welding to go. We got to do seat mounts, the new cross member near the rear pinion. But anyway, lots of progress. I've got to run to the store real quick. David's going to keep spraying away a little bit. I hope you guys like that. Like, I'm really enjoying the white on gray look in there. You know, when you're under an extreme time crunch, spend a day and a half painting.
Well, it was either that or leave a bunch of bare steel laying around, and
Yeah, you had to fog it anyway, and it will never get done if you don't do it now.
pretty much.
Should do 10 seconds pretty easy though, right? 10-second race car.
Yeah, exactly. This is the fastest 10-second car I've ever worked on.
Well, it's night again, but we have more help. This is our friend Bradley. David's been here, you know him. You come from the enthusiasts club that likes to drive across the country very quickly.
Yes, the fraternity of lunatics.
So that's how we know Bradley, and actually how we met David. But let's get you a full update before I have to run home. We now have brake lines, so we can stop once we bleed brakes.
Yep.
We have a drive shaft. The guys, I'm gonna just, again, I pay retail prices. Driveline services in Buford, they're absolutely amazing. I just give Andrew pictures and rough measurements, and they get it perfect every time. And that was done in like 3 hours.
I was gonna say, same day service, you cannot beat it.
I told him I had time, and he told me it was done in a couple hours, so I ran right down there. We've got our nice billet shaft, slip yoke, not shaft, aluminum 3.5 inch, aluminum flange, and I think 1350 joints. They might be 1330s. They're big. I can't remember exact. I'd have to look at the receipt, but they're pretty beefy. I've got to build a trans cross member still. We've got transmission cooler lines measured, built, rough run. David's working on the dipstick. What else is new? Bracket is loose fitted, and we're working on oil feed. I built the most overkill transmission cooler mount ever. You can do pull-ups on it if you would like. We got the transmission cooler mounted. I have a radiator mounted, and I'm pretty pleased for just eyeballing without actually putting the bumper in place. I was just guessing, and that landed pretty perfect, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it came out really nice.
So, excuse the welds. We had to pinch down 1 3/4 inches for a 16 weld-on fitting, so it does it. And on the top side, David has been working really hard at wiring, and you can't see any of it. If you can't see it, did you really do it?
Yeah, so it just, you know, who says you have to have panels and plastics and all that stuff?
To hide wiring.
Exactly. A lot of it's run inside of our fender wells here, using these super sweet,
Yeah.
to pay this no mind, that'll get cleaned up. But these super sweet Mag Daddies,
From Wire Care. I told you they were amazing.
they are amazing. They are fantastic.
What they let you do is anywhere add a tie point, and you have, let me show the box of them. So thank you for sending this for the wiring here. It's the one nice big. But you have the hook style where you just push the wire through, and then you have the zip tie style. So you never see good wiring. Is how I personally feel. When it's done right, you don't see it.
Yeah.
So you've either done absolutely nothing or you're doing good wiring.
Yeah, the radiator, Jared did an absolutely bang up job leaning this in. So on these cars, if you have one of these and you want to LS swap it and you want to run a big boy radiator, generally speaking, you have to lean it like this. On my car, I had to do it that way. Pretty much everybody I know who has a serious one of these that they actually drive has to do that. And he did an absolutely bang up job on these brackets. They're beefy. They're rubber insulated, so that way it doesn't crack. And I mean, and it's very, very serviceable the way he did it. My only gripe being we might have to remove the wastegates to get at it, but you know, there are worse things.
Yeah.
Way worse because you know they're on
Two
a V-band
V-bands
and wham bam and
they're right off, so that works great. In the interior, more wiring. Now this isn't finalized, that's why you can see some of it, and we're waiting for battery cables to come in. I have got my water box mount. You may ask, why is the water box in the interior? We had a spot in the trunk that it could go, but you couldn't really add water or ice, so...
And this way, too, if Jared wants to cruise around or whatever, you can throw your sodas back in there and whatnot whenever you're not making a pass.
I've got the new floor in. I've got a rubber mat to... You really don't want your fuel cells sitting bare against metal. They can vibrate, rub holes, sound issues. It's good to give them something underneath. And, yeah, I've added some weight, but, again... I want to be able to drive the car. So I also made our transfer lines. The way the fuel system's going to work is this is our kind of primary tank. It's going to hold the super hot fuel pumps. This is what the engine will run off of. So similar to what Independence had set up that Kevin from KSR did for Derek with Bicycle Garage. Once we get close to a track, if we're happening to drive somewhere where we're going to drag race, you turn off the transfer pump. It's going to stop sending fuel from here, and it will start sucking this down. So when we get there, we can pop it open and put the really spicy fuel in. And again, the way a surge tank and transfer setup works is your fuel feeds in, and once it gets to the top, it just goes right back over to here. So it ensures the main fuel pumps that are feeding the engine is always full of fuel. This is a twin pump system. We're running a single pump. We don't need both of them. It will move unloaded, because again, this is an unloaded rating, which a 455 unloaded is 455 liters an hour, right?
Yeah, 455. So they're 450s,
Yeah.
If Jared had a problem with the big pumps, he could actually run the car on the twin 450s with the big tank, or he could swap it around. Like, this is very serviceable. In the event that he has a pump failure on either side, the car will be able to be run with either set of pumps. So the dual 450s equal about 1.5 of the brushless pumps. They're math again, but he'll be able to swap it over. It's just a couple of fuel lines and some wire, and I mean, rock and roll.
Yeah.
So
And remember, since I come from the fraternity of lunatics, fuel pumps kill more runs in cannonballs than almost anything.
Oh.
Like
Transcon has lost a couple runs to fuel pumps. So
yeah.
Tons and tons of progress. I believe into the night shift, you're going to start wrapping exhaust, so that actually goes in for its permanent final install.
It'll be in the last time for the first time.
Yeah. Hey, look! It's dark again. Are you surprised that it's dark again? And it's still not running?
It's almost as dark as my current soul.
There's a lot of progress that happened. Not all of it you're really going to see, but I got the proper fuel pumps. They are in. Bradley got all of our tanks like mounted to the car, so if I do crash, I'm not going to get hit by 300 pounds of fuel flying somehow like through the whole car. We've got 16 AN getting ready to go from a water tank forward. David has done a tremendous amount of wiring, and you see none of it because it's good wiring. We have the shifter rough mocked up. What's really cool about this shifter is it's CO2 powered. So what that means is it actually also very cool that this is the trans brake. When you're holding back on this, well, here, this, then this, you are now on the trans brake. And then it just lets go, and once you start moving, the computer will take over and bump and bump, which is absolutely fantastic because if you have never experienced 1,000 horsepower in absolute traction, it's a lot of G-forces. It is an impressive thing to experience. If you watch back in Cletus's old videos, you see his eyes get huge because it is an insane feeling. It is a tremendous amount of fun. So having the computer help out with that shifting so we don't accidentally over rev the TH400 and blow a drum up and send it through the floorboard is a good thing. Now in the front here, we have all the hot side came off and it is all back on. And if you notice, we have really nice wrapping on all of it. Thank you, sir. That is a lot of work to make it look nice, and you've made it look very nice.
My arms will itch for the next week.
Look at how nice the safety wire is. But the whole hot side was on and off twice today. We have that awesome remote water pump setup. I mean, nice and clean, and the water pump will live down there. Bradley made our line, so we run the top. So we're trying to keep all of the plumbing over here. So it is going to get really crowded by the time we're done with fuel lines. We have all of the other lines. The transcooler lines are mounted and run as well. So it's going to get real busy there, but we're trying to keep heat or, fluids off of the hot side as much as possible. Also, look, alternator. That is in. We're waiting for a different turnbuckle so we can tension. That is our only belt accessory. Radiators in. We've got, that is a temperature and pressure sensor. So if we start lifting heads, we can actually have the computer start to pull timing and protect from torching the block and the head.
All it does is kill the motor enough that it doesn't keep pumping water at 8,500 RPM. In the case of you with a mechanical water pump, onto your tires. So hopefully it slows it down enough and kind of whoop,
It's don't send the car sideways at 165 miles an hour.
I just set it sideways. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the day. We're out of parts and waiting for shipments. So hopefully we'll see you back. Probably not until race day. Maybe not. Appreciate everything you did.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
a good shirt.
I know. This is a very exclusive shirt. If you know, you know. This is actually my Lemons team.
Well, we're racing in 3 days, two days, very, very soon. We haven't started the car yet. I'm forgetting that we're supposed to film all of this, but I promised you we're starting it in this episode, and technically like 12 hours from, not even 12 hours from this moment, it should start. But we hit desperate, so I called in a favor. Hi, Randy.
Hey.
It's incredibly late. And you came over just to help with my alternator conundrum, and then you made a way over the top transmission bracket as well. Thank you.
Sure.
I was doing a really awful single shear where I had a stack of washers and a single bolt, and my real nice turnbuckle, and the alternator, well, it wobbled more than an old man without his blue pill. And it wasn't going to work because we were going to throw the belt, and the belt was hitting the header, and you just made fun of me for it, rightfully so.
Yeah, that's what friends do.
But, so he came together and made this really nice proper double sheared mount bracket with its own mounting tabs that picked the alternator up, which let us put it in a much better position on the motor plate. It wasn't relying on anything that I was relying on, and we got the alternator in a proper spot with good belt alignment, with proper header clearance, just the right amount of clearance everywhere there. So we're doing good on that side. But in the whole general scheme of updates, wiring is like 80%.
Yeah.
Plumbing is done. I do not have to make any more AN lines. I have all the cooling for the intercooler. We have all the radiator done. Flex fuel sensor mounted. Line lock is now mounted, plumbed with new brake lines ready to be wired. All of that done. I've got our fuel filter mounted. We have a battery. We're working on finishing up the cutoff switch, so we're legal for a 10-second car, which doesn't need a cutoff switch, but we're doing it anyway. Glass is getting glued in the morning, so we've got a couple little things to do there. Interior's moving along, the intercooler plumbing. Here, we're going to snap cut to the car up to show you Randy's other handiwork. See? That easy. There's no time at all for it to go up. We got fuel lines run and nicely clamped and clear of anything that's going to damage them. And yeah, I just was like, motor plated car needs a small, simple trans mount, and Randy built that nice, beautiful work of art. And he ran the extra bracing so he could run it thin, so we don't have too much extra weight. And yeah, that is beef, ready to be tightened up and painted and do the thing. You started off with CAD, and then you actually put it into CNC, and then you cut it on the plasma table. So you got to be careful.
It's there.
You're like, hey, Randy, I need this thing, and he is going to do it beautiful and extra and show up literally all of your other fabrication work. So we've got that. We've got lines. Converter is now properly measured, torque spaced, and tight, ready to go. Lines are in. A lot has happened. So we're basically
This is the end of a 15 hour day.
a long day.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hurry up and finish filming because Randy's day has been 20 some odd hours, and he probably wants to go home and sleep. And there may be a little bit more time lapse. We'll probably forget to film it, and we're gonna pick it up when we're trying to start it, most likely. But I'll try to remember to film something between here and there. But yeah, we're on the road in a day and a half to go race. We're gonna try to give Brent, the illusion of chance. He has none, but 10-second race cars.
We could spot him some lengths.
Hey, more progress. It doesn't make noise yet. It is very close. If you notice, we have front and rear glass in, so we are legal. Dave and I both forgot how much it drops down, so it kind of shrouds those coils. Let's hope they don't have to get changed anytime soon. Something else, we now have transmission fluid. We have engine oil. We have cooling juice in it. Not all of it. We still need to add a little bit more, but we need to run the water pump. I have got the clamps that I was wanting to get for our turbocharger, so this is fully installed. All the plumbing is done. Brakes have been bled. We have the new race wheels, the more standard but slightly smaller diameter fronts, and a smaller diameter but way stickier radial in the back, and had to pick up some lugs for that. So that is going good. Shifter is now in its home. Wiring, we've got brackets and stuff, but basically we want to fire the car up once we know it's good. We're going to start, shrouding, cleaning, and getting the dash cover on. Seat and the new Simpson seat belts are installed. Let's see, water tank hasn't changed. A few wires there, but back here, other than the kill switch, is now fully wired with the relay for the brushless pumps and just a couple little small things. Now, the hood. It's not going on. It's just, we're out of time. We could rough cut it, but I'd rather take the time, make it look somewhat decent. So yeah, we're clearly red cars are faster without hoods anyway. We just need it running. All right, GoPro for exhaust angle. So just to kind of recap, we have checked for a coolant leak, which we had. Wrong size hose, clamps. That was my fault. Mine. Also, you see my finger. You can't see my finger. Focus? Nope. Okay. Just don't grab bolts you just welded. But first startups, we have gone through and then primed the fuel system. No fuel leaks. Set the right pressure. You've gone through the main sensors. You didn't do a wizard because you have
I am the wizard.
You have the exact same setup, basically. This was a lot of your setup, too.
Yeah.
So you have a map that gets us close. If not, you would go through the Holly Wizard where you tell it, I have these fuel injectors, I have this fuel pressure, I have these sensors, and it gets you close enough. Things we're expecting right now. Fresh header wrap, fresh exhaust pipe. We're going to see some smoke. There's some coolant on the parts. We'll see that. But we have a race in like not even 24 hours, so it's the perfect time for the first start, right? So I will let you push the buttons. You've got them. They're not mounted to the cage yet, so I will kind of manipulate throttle, and that gives us a cool shot of turbo if needed. So,
do you have a fire extinguisher?
Right on that wall, and also there. So,
Okay, cool.
Yes.
I just didn't know where they were.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's also like 2 fire suppression systems. We can just crack the bottles open.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's get this.
All right. All right. You hear the pumps going. Ethanol sensor.
Water pumps on.
Yep. You can see it, maybe. You can kind of see it a little bit there.
It's making noises.
Oh, your battery connections aren't super tight, are they? You just kind of have them finger tight.
Yeah. We're gonna revisit this in about 5 seconds.
Make sure you have tight battery connections, because the moment you put a big load on it, like a 4 horsepower starter, it stops. But 1 second. Okay.
Let's see.
Ooh, ooh, that's noise. That's firing noises.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
we lost
We lost power.
the switch panel.
Okay, so
Something got shaken. That's the...
all right. Here.
Yep.
If you cannot tell by my eyes and by our humor, we are exhausted. It's been a lot, but sometimes sacrifices like sleep have to be made when you have to make sure the Freedom Civic understands there's nothing more free than American V8s in a Japanese car.
Facts.
I mean, anyway, okay, so we're back
For the
up
third
here.
time.
You know, if we're only doing this 3 times, that's not too bad. So, power on. Okay. Water pump. Nope, that's fuel. Water pump, not yet.
Yep, she's on.
Yep, water pump.
We're gonna need to give it just a little bit of throttle blade, but
A little bit more. Okay. Oh, I'll get the turbo going.
she's doing the wee wee. Yeah. Keep small children clear.
All right. If you're not familiar with an auto set on the Holly software, it literally is, you tell it you're doing it, you go full throttle, off. Full throttle, off. and it now knows the full TPS range. So pretty simple. I'm going to be at the ready just in case. And yeah, it's not like if I come off it the tiniest bit, it comes off. Dude,
Spicy.
that's I don't know what it sounds like over there, but from this side,
Spicy.
it sounds pretty insane. So
This thing is, This thing's ready to party.
So we're gonna do a couple tweaks. I'm gonna pick you guys. I told you we're ending with the car running, so technically it's running, but I'm not gonna do it to you. We're gonna get it running just a little bit better, so you can hear a couple throttle rips. I'm just gonna pick you up right when we hit that. Hey David, my watch said this is a loud atmosphere. We still need to get the fans wired. There's a tremendous amount still to do. See, it's a loud atmosphere. But we have a running LS SC300. Cooling fans still need to get wired, but can I give it a little... Oh, almost got it on the catch, but... So... I told you guys we were going to end this thing running, and I am thrilled with the way it sounds. The work when you're building custom exhausts and turbo kits, it's hard to figure out exactly what it's going to sound like. And it's easy to make them sound bad. And to me, obviously, for being honest, it's just going to sound blown out over microphone, unfortunately. But if you are at Cletus and Cars, you are going to hear it in person. And I don't know, my opinion, it sounds pretty mean.
It sounds good now. It sounds good. We're in vacuum, obviously. As soon as Jared really gives this thing the sauce, it should go from like rowdy race car to like F-16.
We've got it running. Basically needing to work on the park IAC and it being proactive enough when you're coming off the loud pedal. But that's all happening off camera because we are now in super thrash mode and we just need to get things finished. So next episode, we're bringing the smackdown. I'm sorry, Brent. The Freedom Civic is amazing, but this is amazinger. Way better. So more betterer. But man, this has been an adventure. We're late on getting videos out because it's been that much work. Because we're not just building just something to look and do. We're building something meant to be a reliable race car. And we can throw things together quick and cheap and break them and improve them. And that's probably the smart way to do it, instead of throwing a lot of money at fancy parts to build just right out the gate a pretty insane car. But I'm excited to do things with it, to go racing, to go on maybe some sick adventures afterwards. Who knows? But Lazarus is back from the dead. Absolutely insane. And yeah, we're going to transfer footage and get back to work. But I'm Jared, reminding you guys to always make questionable choices. And when it comes time to turbocharge your engines, do it. They sound fun. You make a lot of horsepower. It's good. See you.